Well, like I said, my name is Tom. I'm a customer success manager here at RecDesk, and I have Jen on the line who will be taking you through a lot of the experiences today. So we're both here. We want to help you become more engaged with the community. Even with COVID going on, there's still a lot of ways that you can do that, and obviously with an easy to use software. What I'm going to be doing throughout this power up today is I'm going to be moderating the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I will make sure that I pass them to Jen along the way. And with that, I'm going to give it over to Jen very shortly to kind of start. Like we were talking about, today's goal is to really provide you tips and tricks to handle COVID within our software, and also show you our newest feature release, which included that bulk copy programs. So what we have on the agenda then is programs, and then we're going to look at kind of the exposure tracking that you can set up with the programs. Memberships, Jen's going to go over how you can update prices, extend any dates, and then with payments or invoices, updating those payments or zeroing them out versus closing, since there is a difference between the two. And then with that, Jen's also going to cover facility cancellations. At that moment, we'll take a short break, and anyone that wants to stick around and hear how you can use Musco and access control or bulk email, you can stay on the line, and we'll talk about that with COVID-19. But I know a lot of you might not be using Musco or access control, so we will just have a short break, but we'll cover that at the very end. So with that, Jen, I'm going to hand it over to you if you're ready.
I am. Hang on one moment. There was just one more person joining the room, so of course, had to just hit that button.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Cool. Jen's going to share her screen very soon. Remember, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them into the chat, and I will make sure I get those questions over to Jen.
Okay, can everyone see Tom, can everyone see my screen okay?
I believe so.
All right, everyone. So with COVID going on right now, I know that everyone has been facing a lot of hardships. And one of the biggest hardships that we heard you was setting up the ability to do time blocks and being able to copy programs to make this piece easier. I know many of my facilities that are everything from aquatic centers to hockey rinks to gyms have been able to stay open, or at least continue to allow access by setting up a maximum number of people who can come during specific time periods and having those customers select their dates and times. Now, all of you have made programs at some stage in RecDesk, so we're just going to go over this new feature and how it's really going to help. So with this type of situation, we've got 3 available time slots that you can come swim during the course of the day. Now, instead of needing to make these programs and copying and copying and copying for everything, once you've made your full day or full week's worth of programs, you can select up to 10 programs at a time, click Actions, and you can copy selected programs. Now, this feature up here lets you set the date. So if you are one of those groups that are going to do it every single day, then you can copy that day, do one day out. Now I'm going to use the example of for the name, but when I hit apply now, see how that took the date one day out further for me naturally. It'll even update in any enrollment dates, or if you have age minimum maximums, anything in the system where there are dates when you go to copy, they're going to pull here, and they'll automatically pull from the same programming. Now I'm just going to copy that and move that into the custom code area. And when I click on continue and copy now, there's now a new feature where we view draft mode. This was not available previously, but this is something that's going to save you guys a lot of time and energy. Because if you wanted to be able to create a whole bunch of programs, winter's coming. We all know that that means downtime for a lot of you guys as snow just hits and it shuts down the state, not necessarily COVID. If you wanted to use that time period to get your spring sports or even your summer pre-built and already in the system, you can get everything built in the program here. You can have your fees and have your schedule. The difference now is when it says draft mode, the public, the community site is not going to know it's available until you click this Publish Now button. Once you click Publish Now, your community members are going to be able to see those programs on the community site and start registering. And as a reminder for those who may like this type of feature, if some of you are working remote, you can always come in here and assign some tasks for yourself. So you know, hey, I want to make this one live. I want to make the program live. So I'm going to set a task for myself as a reminder. I'll choose myself on here and I'll set the date on the calendar that I want to make this program live or I want to publish this. Can change the wording to publish program. And I can save this. That way, when I log in as my Jen Lanzoni user, I can go through my tasks and I can go through and I can quickly publish the ones that are on my task list. And I can just check the task off like that when I'm all set and completed with it. As a reminder too, CRM Plus is great for those of you who are having to be on swing schedules, let's just word it that way, where you're in the office a few days or like a week at a time, or a few of you are there at a time, but not everyone. You can use tasks or notes or even the documents area to still stay in communication with one another and keep that information connected to that specific program or registration, invoice, payment, so on and so forth. That CRM Plus feature is found in a lot of places across the system. And as a reminder too, for those of you who unfortunately may need to close due to COVID or certain restrictions, maybe you had some programming coming up. I'll pick on basketball. If you started basketball registration and then found out that you're not going to be allowed to do that, go into your program, click Edit here first, and uncheck these top two buttons to stop online registration and no longer show it on the portal. This way, while you're worrying about refunding those who may have already signed up and clearing out the roster, you don't need to worry about somebody new signing up not realizing basketball has been canceled. Once you remove it from the community site and you go to the roster tab, this is where you're going to want to go through and make sure that you click on the invoice, payment, click on the payment, and issue refund. Now, the one thing this is a not imperfect example, but if this person had paid by a credit card, please be aware that there would be an option listed here called credit card as a refund option. Those of you who use authorized.net, if the charge was taken within the last 120 days, you will be able to automatically refund that amount back to the credit card unless your entity has decided not to do that. You'll see the word automatic though. Make sure you type in a refund, reason, and whether you're refunding the full amount or partial. And remember, for programs and memberships, if you leave this button checked off, it'll zero out your invoice. Personally, I like doing my refunds first because when I click on Process Now, we can go back to the invoice and click on the Details button. And then it's just super easy once all my refunds are completed to hit that View Edit, Edit Registration, and cancel everyone out. You can choose to do all your refunds first or refund and then cancel. But remember to remove the person from the program. Otherwise, you will still have a roster on something that has been canceled. Now, For programs that are open and are running, we have this example. This drop-in support feature is going to be really helpful for those of you who are looking for contact tracing. This will allow you to say that this yes with no pre-registration required would basically be some type of program where you just want to know that they entered the building and went for that reason. If you're charging on an individual basis too, this is also an option. I usually use yoga as an example when people pay $6 per class. But this yes with pre-registration required, this is the one we're recommending, especially for those groups who are doing programs so that you can have a certain number of people sign up for a certain time period, either at the gym or at the pool or whatever area. This way, they must register ahead of time in order to be able to attend. Before I go into the check-in feature, I'm just going to do a quick reminder. On member profiles, you have the ability to click on Edit Profile, and in here in this member ID, if you wanted to use like barcodes to scan people in quickly and easily, this is where you'd be able to use those barcodes. And you can either scan or manually enter them here. Once this number is associated with a user, this is going to stick with them regardless of if they have an active membership or if they've signed up for something. So when you go to check-in, please mind this screen. I know that we've got a lot of stuff going on here. You can choose which location that you're checking people into. I always recommend that you enable just the selected facility programs. Now, because I'm on a demo site, I'm going to heed bad advice and I'm not going to filter. But this way, if you're at the pool, you only see your pool programs. If you're at the gym, you see your gym programs. And you can also filter by programs that are running that day. Now, this is a new feature right here, this auto check-in for members' active membership. We also have this other option of do not auto check-in for members' active membership. To explain this, I'm going to show you what it looks like on the second screen. So when the person comes in and checks in, this is going to be the screen. Now that default option essentially either has any membership they belong to checked off, or the do not has them defaulted to unchecked. If you want the default to always uncheck memberships for your organization, please send us an email at support@recdesk.com and we can adjust that default for you. Then during this process, you will only see check-in if that member has already registered for that date and time slot. You can see right here with all of these time periods, I have not signed up for them, so I cannot hit the word check-in. But you just click check-in to say that that person is there and hit complete check-in. This report will give you multiple levels for contact tracing. And to get to where the information is stored for this, there's a couple of different ways. I'm going to show you them in case you have different needs. The first one is on the facility itself. If you're on the check-in screen, you can shortcut by saying see all facility check-in. Otherwise, on the facility tab, when you select your facility, it's just the furthest to the right. And from here, you can choose your date, your date period that you're looking for, who checked into the building. And you can download the details right here. Now, as you can see, you can select what fields you want to come out to Excel. This is one version. There's also the ability on your reports tab, if you just need to see who was there, under the reports tab, you can go to under facilities, facility program check-in report, set the time period that you're looking to run. Now I'm going to check off the show all details just so that you can see this and generate the report. And this will give you that breakdown of who checked in to which program or the specific membership. It also will give you the dates and the times that people come into the building. Either report works for gathering the information. I just like showing both because it really depends on what level of contact tracing reporting you may be required to show. The other option is a better option if you need to have somebody's phone number or email address and you need to be able to contact them due to some type of exposure. This one's just better for getting your actual numbers. Now, do we have any questions with the programming piece and how you can do that with the copy multiple programs and the checking in? If there are any questions, please type them into the chat box now and we can take a moment to go over any of them.
I am not seeing any questions yet coming in.
Okay. Well, we'll continue then.
But I'll keep monitoring in case anything does come in.
Yeah. So next we're going to go into memberships. I know some of you have already reached out and told us that you are unfortunately in that situation again, where the governors of your state or your local county is being shut down. So you're having to cancel memberships or extend them. And I want to do a reminder from the last time we reviewed this, that there's a couple of things you can do. If your memberships are monthly memberships and you charge people every month, one of the shortest solutions to this is to just go into the edit and to zero out your rates until you're reopened. That way, anyone who's set to auto renew on those monthly memberships just won't pay for the month or however long it is that you may be shut down, but it'll continue that auto renew process to keep those memberships going. If they're an annual membership and you wish to extend more time, go to the members tab. It is helpful if under member type, if you switch to primary only. This way you have a shorter list if you have any family memberships. And you'll click View Edit, and come in and change the end date by however many weeks or days that you guys are extending any active memberships. And then scroll down and click Save. For those of you who use payment plans on your annual memberships, this is something that you do need to be very careful with and pay attention to. So for something like this, if this person was had a payment plan on their membership, you would need to make sure that their payment plan matches what you have going on in the office. If you still want to charge them because you're extending the due date, that's perfectly fine. But if you are giving them a free month instead, you need to make sure that you go on here and you need to make sure that you go into the invoice and that you update the invoice. Now, I'm not going to go to this particular invoice. I will look for one that has a payment plan to show as an example. So if I go into somebody who has an active payment plan, what I would want to do is make sure that I hit this View Payment Plan and that I edit it. Am I editing it because instead of it being due on the 1st, it's now going to be delayed a month? So I just want to completely change this pattern and push it a month out. Please keep in mind, if you put a future date at the top, when you save it, it will rearrange them in the correct order. So you want to change either the amount here or you want to change the values over here. So if you wanted it to be $0 for that first one, you can just remove that installment and recalculate the last 2 as well. There's a bunch of different ways, but make sure you come into the payment plan piece to update this. Now, that's for those of you who aren't having a good time with memberships right now and your facilities are closing. I do want to bring up with our memberships something that is a pretty cool feature that some groups are utilizing right now in order to continue to stay open. Instead of having people purchase daily passes on site, what they're doing is they're doing daily punch pass type of options where people can buy those day passes ahead of time. And when they go through that check-in process, it removes 1 check-in per, one punch pass per check-in. So that's helping to reduce contact for those who use the punch pass memberships. Please keep in mind, for anyone who signs up for something like a 10 punch pass, if you're, let's just say, an aquatic center and I purchased 10 passes, on the day that I use the 10th pass, overnight my membership term date is going to end and I will no longer have the membership because I've reached 0. So those memberships end either once all punches have been used, or your default term date that you're saying that they have X period of time to use those punch passes during. If you don't have a period of time, it sounds super silly, but please feel free to write 100 years for them to use those punch passes. It essentially is the same thing for basically a human lifespan to be able to utilize all their punch passes. Do we have any questions for membership?
Not yet, but I'm going to give everyone just a couple more moments to just enter in anything in case anything comes up.
All right. So for those of you who have facility reservations, or if you want to do online availabilities, these are going to be the big questions. If you are still allowing your customers to reserve facilities either online or if you're using reservation requests, please keep in mind that it's important during this time period that on your online reservation tab that you make sure that the dates for your online availability schedule are still valid. If I were to go to the community site right now, I would not be able to do this online because the end date has passed. And I can do a few things. I can either add new, and I can copy the availability schedule. Oops, sorry about that, thought I was scrolling with my mouse. And I can copy that schedule, and I can just change the years. That way I have both listed, or I could update the term dates. This is one of those, everyone has their own preference. Please choose your own preference. And make sure if you plan on charging them for any of those reservations, you have it here and save. That's going to allow people to still reserve time blocks online. Now, some things I have heard that have worked out really well is some places, in order to keep their tennis courts open, what they'll do is they draw out their map and they'll make it so that the tennis courts that touch one another, that they're on opposing online availability schedules. Think of it like all the tennis courts that are even start on even hours, the ones that are odd start on odd hours. Whatever you need to do to be able to keep those locations open, you can keep the availability schedules open for that. Now, if you have open reservations, let's just say, for a location that you're closing, this is always a big question that we get. is I have a location that I'm going to be closing off and I need to know what to do. So you want to go to that reservation and find it and click on View Details. Click on Edit Entire Series. Now I'm going to tell you two options because everybody really has their own way of doing things. Some people just come down here and they cancel the whole reservation because they just want to clear all the information out of the system. However, if some groups have started to ask lately if there's any ability for them to keep this reservation in the system but show it as canceled. The simplest thing to do is to hit that Edit Details button, change the title to something like Canceled. You can even change the color if you'd like, and then update the reservation itself. Now I'm going to cancel this reservation. So if I go through and I edit the entire series and I go to cancel, the next screen that will pop up is whether I want to go to the calendar, add a new one, or go to invoice. Any reservation you cancel, please go to that invoice so that you can immediately decide what it is you're going to do with the funds. Everything during this closure time period, you need to decide if you're going to refund it. So this is a credit card, so this is what a credit card refund would look like. You can even refund to household credit. Now, household credit can be utilized for anything that they sign up for in the future in RecDesk. So the next program, the next membership, or the next facility rental. Now, the difference for facilities, this button to adjust the line items does not automatically get checked off. So when you process the refund, if the invoice is, or the reservation is canceled, you want to go back to the invoice. And you have two options from here. You can click on Actions and mark the invoice as closed. Many of you who do what's called, who want to know what revenue you've lost, you do this so that you can track the invoice in the future, but it doesn't show that the customer owes any money, nor are they able to make payments on this invoice. Some of you prefer to zero. If you want to zero, you click Edit, Edit, and make sure to zero the unit price. And if you've typed in a security deposit amount, there as well, and save. All right. Do we have any questions with the reservation piece?
Not that I can see.
All right. Well, we kind of hit the end of the initial part of this. So I do want to give us those few minutes so that if anyone has any questions or if they don't want to go into anything else that we're going to discuss, which we're going to discuss access control, bulk emails, as well as a must-go connection for those who may be interested. So if anyone has any questions, please type them into the chat box and we'll go over those. While we're waiting, I did actually ask a couple of our customers if I could highlight and showcase some awesome things that they're doing during this time period, just to keep in touch with their public and to keep relations open during COVID. And all of these cities have given us permission, so I can show some examples. One of these, I don't know if we have them on the phone. I felt like I saw their name earlier, is a town called Swansboro, and they're doing this awesome virtual rec option where they're actually posting in their content management videos, training videos for their public to be able to follow along to. Now, if any of you have never done Pound Fitness before, this is actually a lot of fun. I watched the video and thought it looked like fun, playing with a whole bunch of playing with drumsticks. So this is an awesome way to still engage with your public. Some other awesome examples. This is one of my aquatic centers. And they've been able to remain open to allow 15 people in their pools at a time period per time slot by having their programming set up. Now, I like to use them as an example because I like the way they name their programs. It is important to think about the way you name your program when you're having the public look at them. Please keep in mind, it is alphabetical. I know right now we're in December, so 12 is pretty easy, but once we start getting into January, if you do 0, 1, it will appropriately put the items in order. I have another example here, Rossmore. I love the way they do their tennis court rentals. You can see how when somebody goes to reserve, they can pick and choose their rates, their days, their times, and they'll be able to select what is appropriate to them. Now, I've got 2 other groups that I want to show you some cool things that they're offering. One I actually just saw today, Get to Know Your Park. I love me some bad jokes here. So this one was one I had to show as soon as I saw it, where this group actually set up little printed envelopes, printed paper, where you can find out how to find your gnomes in the park. And they're going to get a puzzle each week, and people are going to be able to participate and be able to provide this type of information, be able to find the gnomes. And this just looks like a fun, active activity for those who have kids who school is remote, things are going on, but parents are looking for ways to keep their kids busy. This other group I really want to show off, they're called Carroll County. They have a whole bunch of awesome programs that they're offering right now, such as craft in a bag or games in a bag. But one of the other things I really wanted to show off about theirs is camp in a bag. So they're creating programs that they're not only able to charge for, but these are bags where the parents can still engage with the kids or engage with one another. And they're just setting up the bags for the public to be able to still come and pick up. So they've got a great list of super fun activities, some of which I have borrowed and done with my own nephews because I thought they sound like fun things to do. So these are some customers that you're going to see us post as highlights on our Facebook page coming up. So if any of you want to be able to check that out, or if you think you have a cool program or facility or membership that you want us to be able to show off what you're doing that's working really well, let us know. We'd love to show it off and show off what it is that you all are doing to engage with the public at this time. Now, I don't see any new questions that have come in. Tom, has anybody?
Nope, not out for everybody to respond to, but I did have one question, and it's all about programs now, and it's all about our new draft mode. So as you're creating these new programs, maybe you're creating something for this spring and you're not exactly sure if you're going to want to run it. But previously, when you create these programs, you would have to go and check that box to hide it online and not have online enrollment and kind of really the day that it starts. With this new draft mode, you can create new programs and put them into the draft mode, so that way you don't have to worry about checking the box, and then the day you release it, all you have to come out here is click on publish instead. So you can take things from the program list as long as there is no active registrations on them, and you can put them back into the draft mode.
And Tom went over that great. So that what he's basically trying to let you guys know is if you make a program live and you go, oh no, I didn't mean to do it, there's a quick, easy button to convert it back to draft mode. You don't need to worry.
Okay, I did get one question. Any way to register online without creating an account? That's a great question. At the moment, the only way to register for a program is to create an account. It lets you help track who is registering and be able to contact them. But also, that is also tied to an invoice. Even if they're registering for a free program at $0, technically an invoice is being created. So we do require within the system that for the community at least, that anyone that signs up does need an account.
Now, there is a workaround for this for those of you who may still be open and doing daily rates. This is not going to happen, so I'm just going to make a bad joke. If Tom were to come visit us here in Connecticut, let's just say, and I were to take him somewhere where I have a membership, but they also charge a daily rate for guests. If you wanted to charge guests, one workflow that I've discussed before with some groups, and some of you may be aware of this, is during the check-in process, you can create a profile that's basically like guest check-in. And this is a fake profile within the back end of RecDesk so that during check-in, you'd be able to check them in. We're going to pretend it's a $5 fee. Assign them that $5 fee, and this will still generate an invoice because that guest check-in fake user profile exists on the back end. It also allows you to mark that payment. For those of you with credit card swipers, you'll still be able to swipe a card, no problem. The only difference is if you manually enter a credit card for somebody's payment during this process, because it's a test user, you just have to update some more information. But for those of you who are doing just quick cash for your guests, this lets you get that information. And in the notes, this is where I would recommend that you put information to be able to contact them if there's any issues, such as going back to the whole contact tracing information. This is something you'll be able to pull later and still be able to charge them. It's just on the community site that they won't have that ability.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. Do we have any other questions?
Not that I can see, but feel free to continue to post any questions that you have. Otherwise, Jen, do we have time to still go look at Musco and the bulk emails?
We can discuss we'll actually discuss both Musco and access control at the same time, if you don't mind, because I think that's going to be the easiest way to explain this. Now I do just have to pop open a different site, but while that site loads, we're going to go over the whole Musco and the Musco and access control and how they're a little bit different than everything else we offer. Some of you have Musco lighting to turn the lights on automatically at your fields or your courts, or even some of you use it for your building. Musco now can connect with RecDesk so that we can connect to your facilities. So if you have a program running or if you have a reservation going on, that it can trigger to Musco the dates and times needed for those lights to be turned on. For access control, it's actually a little bit bigger than that. Access control, when you think of that, think of it like somebody being able to scan on the door and the door opens because of it. There's two groups we work with access control. One is called Keysy and one is called S2. Now the example I'm going to use is actually an S2 site. So this would be what it would look like is within your membership, you're going to be able to set access control levels. Now with S2, this is something you develop on their end where you say that, golf gets access to this golf area. With Keezy, it's just going to show you all of the doors, or the rooms, I should say, that have locks, and you're going to select that from the drop down and hit save. On the facilities themselves, you can then come into each facility and see how it now has this manage reservation level access control. You can set this up so that access control is set to the facility, so that if somebody reserves that area, the same scan cards will work. Now, we also offer this other option for access control to work with online reservations. So think of that as if you are renting out space for a meeting room in the community center and you want them to be able to badge their way to that area. They can make the reservation for the meeting room online, and it would give them access. But please know that access is dependent on them having one of the actual access control cards, or if you're using Keezy, that they have created an account with Keezy that they can use on their cell phone. And yes, you heard that right. Keezy lets you create profiles on your cell phone. And it's as simple to link to somebody's profile as going to them in RecDesk and clicking on the Access Control tab that'll be added. And this is where you just edit the card to sync their actual access control card with their account. And on this view, we're going to see everything that they have access to based on what memberships they have. Or this access level down here was a reservation. I can also add custom access. Now, a great example for this is one of my groups that has access control is using this particular feature so that during the week, during the mornings before they have certain swim meets, what they call the swim meet parents, will be able to go into the facility early so they can get everything set up for the meet itself, and they don't have to worry about a staff member letting them into the building. So those are all the big updates, because now that it's connected to the member and everything else, those access control cards are going to work a little bit better. And as a reminder for all of you, if you're not using this feature or if you haven't thought to use this feature, you all have the ability to have a 20,000 email per month connection to SendGrid that's part of your RecDesk contract. You just need to let us know if you want it through us. If you need more than 20,000 per month, let us know. There is a little bit of a price difference, and we'll just discuss that with you. But you'll be able to click on Create New Campaign, type in the name, a subject, and this body, you can type in any information you want here. As a gentle reminder, you cannot upload images here. Now, Tom was awesome, and he created this really cool template. If any of you want to make really fancy emails that you can send from here in a quick, easy way that include images, but you will only be able to type in here. And you can type and you can use hyperlinks within here. But if you wanted to use a photo, you would need to get the embed code, go into the HTML tab, and make sure that you right-click and paste the embed code as plain text. That is the only way for a photo to work, is with the embed code. And then make sure you hit select recipients up here. If you want it to be everybody, you can apply search, or you can use show advanced options if you wanted to filter to a specific group. And that'll pull up your members. And when you hit recipient list actions, you can go primary or primary and alternate. Please note that a vast majority of my customers get a little scared the first time they watch this, because when you see 903 entries and I say use primary only, I only have 373 unique email addresses. What that means is that there's a lot of households. So the husband, wife, kids, all the people are sharing the same email and email address. So don't freak out too much. That's not a big deal. It's just the way the system will work. You can set it to schedule for later and set the time period, days and time. And please make sure you send yourself a test email before you save for send. That way, if there's any hyperlinks or photos or anything that you've attached, you're going to be able to look at it and make any changes before the public sees it. And as just another gentle reminder, for those of you who have your own SendGrid account, SendGrid is setting an API, a date that their information needs to be, that go through two-party authentication and to have an API link connected. We did send out an email with instructions to you. If you did not receive those instructions, or if you're very confused about the instructions and you weren't able to get a hold of SendGrid, please give us a call and let us know, and we'll try our best to be able to help walk you through those steps to be able to get the information.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Did anyone have any questions for Jen or about anything else that is on your mind today as well? All right. I am not seeing anything, Jen, but we'll keep the room open for a little bit longer.
Yep.
Was there anything else that you had to cover, or are we good?
No, I think that covers everything. Thank you all for joining us. And again, if you have anything that you'd like to share with us that you feel would be helpful to other departments to keeping them open, send us an email or send us a link or give us a call.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll stay here for a little bit longer, but we'll be sending out, posting this video either on Facebook or YouTube later on today, and then we'll be sending out a link to it at some point tomorrow. So be on the lookout. If you need to refer back to this, you'll be getting access to the recording very soon. Thank you again.